Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Really lovely to see you here. Thank you so much for all your support, it means the world. It's time for a review of the first 30 days of my journey of 300 days to completely change my financial fortunes around for the even better. I can't lie, I was okay before, but it's tripling my income in 300 days and doing it in a way that I'm doing things that will build me legacy, right? I told you before I have these three pillars. I have pillar one, which is the short-term cash that I need to work out so that I can pay my bills. That was most of my first month. I won't lie about it. It was tough. It was tough to have no money at the beginning of the month to work with. The second pillar is building out services in my company so that I'll have recurring income. I've made great progress in that one. And the final one is a bit of a slow burner, but a moonshot if it works out, which is buying a couple more companies. Which is my core expertise, mergers and acquisitions. And so I'm looking to buy a couple more companies to add to my existing portfolio, which will then also generate great value and hopefully recurring income. Now, how was the first month? Lots of things were very, very tough, right? So the toughest thing I think for me in the beginning was that how many people no longer pick up the phone or respond to my emails, right? There's no big brand behind me all of a sudden, there's just me. And so I was surprised. I shouldn't have been surprised. I should have seen this coming, but people split cleanly down the middle into people who just completely cold-shouldered and ignored me from the moment on that I didn't have a big brand behind me anymore. And then the people who've been supporters all along and who actually love me for the stuff that I do rather than the stuff that I can sometimes do for them because I had the constraints on that a big company imposes on you, of course, in many different ways. And so we've been able to work very fruitfully together after years of thinking about it, but not being able to do that just yet. Other negatives, very, very long days at times 14 to 16 hour days, sometimes the weekends, but it hasn't felt that long. It's been all in the excitement and the flow. I've really enjoyed grinding away and setting up the structures that I'll be working off in the future. So it's been a mixed bag. It's not just negative. I've been tired as a result, and the people around me haven't seen me as much as they should have, but it's all for the better. And I firmly believe in that when you build the foundation of the house, when you build the structure, you go as hard as you need to and as fast as you can so that you get that out of the way so that you have a good platform to build on. The other thing that was a little bit negative, and I caught myself falling back into habits that I shouldn't have, which are around your nutrition and your sleep patterns and your exercise. So I had times when I was in flow mode and I was like, I'm not going to eat now, I don't want to interrupt myself, or I'm not going to exercise, it's not a good time for me, I just want to be working on this, I want to keep working. And the problem with that is that if you don't take a break at midday, you're going to be in trouble later on because you lose that little bit of efficiency, that little bit of energy after 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock that you would have had if you had fueled regularly and you'd fueled well during the day and you'd done your exercise and everything else that helps you with energy. So I learned from that because I started having little slumps. I'm back on the treadmill, I'm back in the gym now, so all good. Energy levels are back to normal. In terms of the really cool and good things, right? So the amount of people that I've had conversations with now about really meaningful things that we want to do together and where it can really make a difference. So we've talked about the things that I'm really good at, where I really feel I can be a rainmaker for someone. And I spent most of our time having those conversations rather than conversations around things that maybe I'm only good at, but they're not naturally something that I enjoy doing. So that's been really good. What else? Well, financial results, right? So a good rule of thumb when you build a company, when you build something new, is that you can roughly pay yourself 1/3 of what you make when you make it for the company, right? So basically when you build yourself a recurring income of, let's say, £12,000, then what you should pay yourself or could pay yourself out of that is £4,000. It could be a little bit more, but then you risk the growth of the company, or maybe it should be less because then you can reinvest everything into the company. But for the hypothetical example, so I've built income streams that I know will be recurring. So one is 1,800 a month, and then I've got a retainer of £750 a month through one of my companies, and then another retainer of $999, let's call it 1,000. Which keep coming back, which I can rely on. And then I've got another 1,500 agreed, which is starting to come in, also pound sterling, or everything in pounds. So The end result for the month is the income that I could take out of the company as recurring without hurting my endeavors, my growth plan would be 550. So I'm sort of 60-70% there of what my last income was without bonuses and things like that. So I'm on a really, really good path with that. Did I take this out? No. I took the bare minimum out so that I could pay my mortgage and I could pay the bills, because the whole point is that I want to accelerate the journey. So imagine if instead of the 5,050 you took out 3,000 and you spent the rest, you put the rest back into the company. And in fact, one of the things that is stopping me from growing with the software company at the moment is that software developers are rare. The good ones that I have are even more difficult to come by. And they're all fully booked. They're all working on projects full time, which means that we can't grow because they can't do any more work. So what I actually need to do is I need to spend the money on hiring more people. So whatever I can slice away from this that I'd normally in sort of the good times, the non-growth times would take for myself, I can reinvest back into upskilling people or hiring more people. So that's what we're doing at the moment. We've just hired 3 new people in software, and I've got one in sort of video editing and marketing, who's also now starting a government apprenticeship through us. So that's really good. And that's where the growth comes from. And remember, I can take all the money myself, but then I'm going nowhere, because I want to build a multi-million-dollar company out of each of those streams that I have now, the coaching and sales coaching and management coaching bit, the software development bit, and the consulting bit. All 3 of them, I want them to be companies that are multi-million-dollar companies. And that can only happen if I reinvest consistently into things that I know will bring growth, like good people working on more projects, right? So 550 is where I'm at, regardless of the fact that this isn't quite where my previous income was, and that was never the plan. The plan was to be there in 3 to 4 months. I'm changing my plans to be slightly more ambitious, so my plan now is actually to double this by the end of August, and then double it again by the end of September. Why by the end of August? Well, because a lot of the geographies where I work are actually on holidays in July and August. So I've already gotten responses now from people in Finland saying, like, unfortunately that person is only back in mid-August. They're on 6 weeks of summer holidays, they're all going fishing around midsummer, and then they only come back in August. So there's not an awful lot that I can do. So I can work on the foundations, I can work on the structure of things, and once everyone is back, we're going to agree more things. Remember, I also agreed almost 40K in additional business for the rest of the year, but that's not recurring stuff, and I'm actually working hard now to make all of these income streams recurring and something that I can build on over time. Hopefully this wasn't too technical. Hopefully this was in some ways entertaining. If this left you with a lot of questions, ask them. Yeah, next week we're going to talk about acquiring companies and what's happening in the market at the moment and what I'm looking at in terms of investing into new companies. That's pillar 3. Remember, we talked about the short-term cash where I sold things on eBay, where I cut my spending, and then pillar 2 where I worked on services and building products and services for my companies to formalize them and to keep selling them. And then the final one, the moonshot one, is buying more companies. So that bit we're going to talk about next week. If there is something you'd like me to talk about, because I realize that I waffle on for about an hour and then William cuts this down to about, 6 minutes, 10 minutes for your convenience. If there's something you'd like to talk about more, I'm really, really happy to do that. So drop me a note, drop me a comment, and I'll do my best to elaborate if it is within my knowledge and power to do so. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend when it starts, and I'll see you soon.